find, or was it difficult reprising your role as Gilbert?
To a certain extent, I found it different doing this incarnation of the show. In the books, and especially with the other two, the first one and the sequel, before this, I think the main dynamic between Anne and Gilbert was that they weren't actually together, that they weren't a couple yet. So a lot of the tension and a lot of the playing field they had was the fact that they weren't together and they were trying to get together, and each scene sort of dealt with another layer of will they get together or won't they get together. So when this one was written, they are together, and so it was a bit of a hunt to find the new story between Anne and Gilbert and what was going on in the relationship. Now there are certain things to play from, but the main thing was that now that they're together and they seem to be sort of supportive and of each other and about to get married, and all those tensions weren't quite apparent anymore. It was. And because this is a different one from anything that's been written by Lucy Maud Montgomery, it was trying to find our own unique take on what the characters' realities were and what they're going through together.
Good.
It was really bad.
No, that was good.
Jeez.
And if you can remember, sometimes if I've asked you the question, maybe start with the question when you're answering back. So if I say, was it difficult reprising your role? And you say, well, difficult reprising my role was, because I won't be, you won't hear my questions.
So it's not, okay.
So they won't know.
Oh, so it's just, okay. Thanks.
How do you feel Gilbert has changed since you last played him?
I think the only thing that can come to mind right now, and this is in a general sense about what's changed to Gilbert, is that he is literally older. And I think going from schoolboy to going from somebody who's about to embark on his life and going away to medical school, which was how it ended in the last sequel, it's just a dealing with the new sensibilities that you would attribute to a young man who is now beginning life with a fiance and has gone through school and is starting his career. So I think the main difference is just the fact of what would this young man be going through at this period in his life, which encompasses ambition and romance and even spirituality, and the differences of the world around him with the war beginning in this one, and where that places a man of his age to deal with those things, and the things that aren't addressed in the other ones and aren't addressed in the books. And so as far as any kind of change in the character, it's just dealing with more or less what are the changes that happen in this time of somebody's life with the realities that he's dealing with in this script. So that's a bit of a general wash of it, but it was exciting to find that, to sort of find the pockets that he's gone through in each incarnation, and finding the unique qualities of this one.
Great. Your role in Anne involved a lot of physical action. How did you prepare for this, and was it what you expected?
I don't think my character was responsible for a lot of really physical action, other than, I guess, stitching up patients. So I think, luckily I have a sister who is a doctor, so there's a few phone calls to her, and to find out about the mechanics of being in a hospital room and how you deal with patients and how you deal with finding out about what to look for when you're looking for a footling breach, or whether it's a footling breach. And luckily there was also a doctor on set with us who not only helped with the mechanics and the physical aspects of dealing with being in an operating room and what you go through with that, but also finding out what they knew in the period and at that time about medicine and what the remedies were that are different from today. That there were certain things that were a lot cruder, but certain things that were a lot simpler. And so as far as physical action, the other things were just running away from bombs, but you know, I've been doing that since I was about 8, you know, little pretend bombs in my backyard, so.
Great. Are you relying on the audience to have some familiarity with the character, or do you feel that Gilbert has grown enough to allow a more personal and different interpretation?
I think that there's a certain reliance on what people will remember from the other ones and what people expect from the other ones and expect from the books. So there's a certain sensitivity to that, that because this one is not based on any books that Lucy Maud Montgomery has written herself, we've given ourselves a certain amount of leeway to find our own reality with these characters because we can't find the voice through her words. So, oh gosh, sorry. What was the question again? I'll try to repeat what I said.
Do they have to be familiar with your character? Can this stand alone if people haven't seen the other two?
I think this part of the series can easily stand by itself. Basically because it has to stand on itself in the sense that it wasn't written or from the mind of Lucy Maud Montgomery. The characters certainly are, and people are familiar with the characters and have certain expectations of the characters, and I think we have a certain sensitivity to deliver that, to create a connection to what people have seen in the other episodes as well as what they know from the books, but especially with this one, because it's unique in itself and the story's unique and we've had to create our own reality with it, that we've given ourselves a certain amount of leeway to find what is driving the characters, what are the motivations of the character in ourselves, in the story we've got and what we've been able to produce from our own memory of the other ones and from the characterizations we've had to invent with this one and with the story of this one.
Okay. And do you want to talk a bit about working with Megan again? Do you guys feel you're destined to do these roles together? And
working with Megan was wonderful. I don't know if destiny per se played any part in it, but I had not worked with her since the last one, and that was a good 10 years ago at least. And so coming back into this one and working with her was great. I felt that there was a certain rhythm that we managed to hold on to that we had from the other one, so a certain comfortability, if that's a word, that we managed to lock into through playing this. And as the shooting went on with this one, that became a little more natural. And I can sort of base it down to a rhythm. There's a rhythm that I sort of would get from her that felt very comfortable and worked with the familiarity of the characters themselves. And also with her commitment. She's just one of those actresses that she's working 15-hour days, but there's not 1 second of that a yawn will get in the way of her just forging ahead and working on scenes and changing as she has to and making sure that she can deliver the best product. So they say if you want to learn tennis, you play with somebody a little better than you, and that certainly felt like it for me this time.
great. Do you want me to pass over the hero stuff, or do you want me to go into that?
I'd say pass.
Okay, pass on the hero. Okay, let's just go. What inspires Gilbert to enlist, despite his love for Anne?
I don't know. I honestly can't vocalize it. I'll just start saying, spirituality. I'll sound really gooey when I start talking.
Did he feel? Was it a pride or an honor, or a sense of honor, or a sense of duty, or that was above sort of human?
I think the reason that Gilbert would decide to go to war, especially in the midst of amidst his engagement with Anne and a wedding that's going to be taking place in a matter of weeks, and decides to go to war straight away, is really complicated to actually vocalize very fast. It's a big mishmash of different ingredients. The idea of country and a certain amount of patriotism is, of course, there. At that point, there was, I think when he decides to go to war, at the point that he decides to go to war, it's a little after the hoopla and the big hooray of enlisting has died down, and there's a reality to the war. And I think, and I don't think it's as much cowardice to say I've got to go to war, I will feel like a coward or be seen not to be protecting my country and my people, is that there's a responsibility with his talent as a doctor to do the work he can, seeing the reality of the war, the amount of casualties, the amount of people he knows that he's grown up with that aren't going to be returning back home. And so there's that aspect, and I think there's a spiritual aspect to why he would put something so profound on hold to go out and participate in something as profound as well. And I think also basically to embark on a new life with your wife or whatever change is going to ensue with that, with the decision in your life, to start that and feel that it's going to begin with a certain amount of regret or a certain amount of guilt or a certain amount of not knowing whether you've made a right decision at the right time, can only be a burr on the marriage or on the beginning of the marriage. And it was to know that if I don't do this and I stay here and try to continue with what the original plan was, there's a certain amount of getting off on the wrong foot, and a certain amount of just I guess remorse, not wanting to deal with the remorse on what should be an incredibly happy occasion.
Great. I think, how much have we shot so far?
Well, we're at the club limit.
Oh, okay. Is there anything else? Just trying to think. There's about what realizations does he have while he gets into the war?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. It's just my manner. I can think about it and I can try to articulate it into the lines that I've got when I'm reading them, but I don't. I've never been good at explaining that kind of stuff.
Movie for you.
Is there a what?
Was there any fun times for you in this movie?
Oh yeah, am I looking like am I sounding like this was just grimacing horrible experience? No, no, I had a great time. It was a tough time working on this one. With the changes and with dealing with the script that didn't deal with the books. No, I enjoyed this experience very much, and the difficulties were difficulties that I expected. Trying to recreate a character after I've changed so much, and I know the character's changed so much, but having to sort of reconnect with that familiarity with the character was tough. And the first two that I did were two of the first projects I had worked on as an actor. So I went immediately back to the first one and the sequel and grimaced my way through those, thinking, geez, I hope I've gotten better. And so it was a hope that I could take those characters and remain faithful to the characterizations that I had done in the other ones and embody it with a certain amount of experience and a certain amount of humanity that I've acquired as a human being, and relay that to the character who's also grown and matured in his own way.
Great.
So.
And one more question. Did you find it fun, or was it fun having the new character of Jack being introduced into the Anne Gilbert scenario? How did that play with you?
The new character of Jack was an exciting character to see in the script. Very romantic and very flamboyant and very different from Gilbert. So, needless to say, at the same time, it was pretty intimidating, knowing that here's one guy, you know, hanging off balconies and proclaiming his love to Anne, and Gilbert as a character is a little gentler, a little more soft-spoken. So it was trying to remain faithful to that ingredient, that quality of my own character, but still trying to find a way where there is a match to the flamboyance and the brightness and the color of Jack. So who knows? I mean, you know, maybe Anne didn't make the right decision at the end. We'll never know.
Okay, great.
So
Oh,
sorry.
you were so good.
Oh, no,
Wasn't he good?
No.